kitchen. So many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.
Welcome, everybody, to our January 2025 show. Happy New Year. My name is Dilla Barman. I'm one of the cooks in the kitchen. Cooks in the Kitchen, we are all Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine Food for Life instructors. We teach evidence-based nutrition classes. We help you find ways to stay healthy. And if we end up with conditions like cancer or diabetes, high blood pressure, if we are high-performance sports athletes, we have classes specifically for those conditions, all evidence-based, and we show you how doing wonderful things, easy things in the kitchen can really be a big asset. So we've been doing this for since the beginning of the pandemic every month. Please say hi. You can chat on however you're watching. Let us know where you're watching from. Those of you who've been watching for a while, welcome back to our regulars. And if you're new, we're so glad you found us. Check us out every month. We have some really good shows coming up. So today's show is all about cheese. Now, you might think I signed up for a vegan, whole food, plant-based show. Well, it is. A lot of people who go vegan, who decide not to eat animal products for a variety of reasons, sometimes they say, I really miss cheese. And so cheese, dairy cheese has a lot of addictive properties to it. It keeps you coming back for more, and we can talk more about that in the Q&A perhaps. It's also high in sodium. So we have, it's not that we have come up with, some of us have, but there's a whole bunch of ways of making vegan cheese. A lot of them are based on nuts. We will be demonstrating a variety of cheeses. Let me tell you what we're making today. So I'll tell you about myself last. Actually, I'll tell you about myself first. Cody and Carolyn and I go on a cruise every year, and we arrange to have a cooking demonstration videoed, and then we can show that as part of the show. Because of circumstances beyond my control, I actually wasn't able to go. Oh, shucks, and that was just last week. So I was supposed to be part of Cody and Carolyn making various cheeses, and I missed. So I'm actually, for the first time ever, not cooking, but I'm going to take a minute and tell you about a basic cheese sauce recipe. Jean and after me will be making plant-based Parmesan. Then Tammy in Florida will be making nacho cheese and a soft cheese. Again, all vegan, whole food, plant-based. Ella Rodriguez in Rhode Island will be making spicy nacho sauce. And then Angelita was supposed to cook. She was supposed to make a Mexican almond queso with dried herbs. We'll have to get the recipe. Something came up Wednesday or Thursday, and she had to bow out. So she won't be part of the show. And then Carolyn and Cody were supposed to have made 3 dishes, but I think they only made 2. And this was recorded. So you'll see the recording from the ship. Incredible vegan cheese, vegan Boursin cheese, and I know for sure they did mac and cheese instant mix. Kind of like you buy macaroni and cheese that comes with a mixed packet, so that's what they made. And the cruise that we go on uses basically an SOS diet, no salt, no oil, no sugar. And so all the cheeses they made had no salt either. And finally, Susanna Dickman will wrap up with vegan feta and ricotta cheeses, and then we'll come back to Q&A. And please ask questions throughout, but at the end during Q&A, if you ask questions, we have several giveaways. We have Miyoko, if you know who Miyoko Shinner is, she has a wonderful book called Artisan Vegan Cheese. So that'll be one of the giveaways. And then Veg News, which is a monthly magazine, an excellent magazine. I think it's monthly. Maybe it's 10 times a year. So the Veg News magazine. Let me tell you a little bit about the cheese about a basic cheese sauce that I make fairly often. So what I do is I start with a half cup of raw cashews. In theory, you can't buy raw cashews. They have a poison on it. It has to be roasted. So when you buy in the marketplace raw, it means it's had its first roasting, but it hasn't had a second dry roasting, for example. So a half cup of raw cashews, and again, they're not really edible if they're truly raw. And many people soak the cashews for a half hour or so. I generally am a lazy cook. I get decent results without soaking them. But if you have the time and you can plan it, soak them initially. It adds to the moistness. And then a clove of garlic. You can make it two if you like garlic a lot. And then, depending on how runny you want the cheese sauce to be, 1/8 to 1/4 cup water. And then nutritional yeast, which I believe all of us will be using. Nutritional yeast gives it a very strong cheesy flavor. You want a half cup of nutritional yeast. And then for the color, I like to put some red bell pepper. It gives it more of a pronounced, darker, it gives it like an orange color, even though you're adding red. And then optionally, you can add a little bit of lemon or lime juice, and even better, tangerine juice. One thing that's really exciting for me is January means the really beginning of tangerine season. Those guys, those of you who have seen the show for a while know triple cross tangerines are around the corner any week now. But this year we've had an amazing crop of sugar bell tangerines, and I've been just enjoying sugar bells. So if you have access to sugar bell tangerines, check them out. So a little bit of tangerine juice, lemon juice, or lime juice, and finally a dash of salt and black pepper. I sometimes add lemon pepper. So that's it for cheese sauce. And all these recipes are in a document, which I'll flash up when Jean starts cooking. So let me pass it over. I see some comments have come through. I want to go ahead and start with Jean, and I think we're putting Carolyn and Cody's pre-recorded segment after Ella. So wish me luck with the technology behind the scenes. You might see a black bar or something, but we'll try to get that going. So without further ado, Jean with plant-based Parmesan, and I'll see you guys back after everybody's done cooking for Q&A. So enjoy. Please bring questions. Please keep your questions coming. So Jean with plant-based Parmesan.
Thank you, Dilek, for the nice introduction. Hello, everybody. Merhaba, and welcome to my kitchen in Abu Dhabi. As Dilip has introduced us, the theme this month is plant-based cheese, and there are so many versions of it. I'll be sharing my favorite one with you, but I also want to let you know that this month marks 8 years since I've been eating whole food plant-based, and everyone has their own story for why they have switched. Mine is because I had battled 10 years of chronic pain, and in the end I was told, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. I was 57 years old and basically being told not to do anything strenuous. A friend of mine told me about whole food plant-based nutrition. I immediately signed up for the plant-based nutrition course at eCornell, given by T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies, and I haven't looked back. I'm so glad I've done it. No regrets, and it's awesome. So I'm really passionate about it. I share it with everyone I know. That's why I'm part of this wonderful group. I've also become a Food for Life instructor and a plant-based chef license and a health coach, so that I can share this with everybody and feel good about myself, and also for helping others. So, yay! So my recipe is plant-based Parmesan substitute, and we do it with cashew nuts. I have a half a cup of cashew nuts here, nutritional yeast, garlic powder, onion powder, and a pinch of salt. Of course, you can adjust these to your liking. I do have the recipe in our recipe booklet, as always, but please play with it. I adjusted it to my liking, and obviously you should do the same. So I have a little, what do you call it? Little food processor gizmo. I put my cashews in it. Always reduce, reuse. So I'm reusing this jar for my garlic powder. I'm putting 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, a pinch of salt, and I use the salt that is iodized, so that on a daily basis, if I use salt, it's the iodized kind, and Master of Ceremonies, the nutritional yeast. I'm gonna put 2 tablespoons. My husband absolutely loves nutritional yeast. And here we go. These are all the ingredients. And we go blitzing away. Sorry for the noise. I like leaving it a little gray. You can make it smoother, but don't make it turn into a paste because you need it to be flowing. Some of the pieces are far too big still. I will. Okay, so this is to my liking. There are some big chunks and some powdery parts. I have a little funnel and I liquid in my jar. And it's ready to go. Making noise as always. And then you just cover it up. Let me taste it. And you can keep in the fridge several weeks. Depends how much you use it. And one of the reasons for not turning it into a paste, because then all the oils come out and it doesn't keep as long. And it's not, of course, flowing. So sprinkle it on your risotto, on your pasta, on spaghetti, on lasagna, on soups. It's amazing on creamy soups or non-creamy soups. It's a wonderful addition to many dishes. One of the secrets I have is when I make a risotto, at the end, I put depending on how big it is, the amount, at the very end, I put about 1 to 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, cover it, stir it, cover it, leave it for 10 minutes or so, 5 minutes, and then it's ready to serve. After you've served it, you can then sprinkle some of this, and it's delicious. Now, I'm done, but you have wonderful recipes coming up. We'll go from here, from Abu Dhabi, all the way, nearly 8,000 miles, to Sarasota, Florida, to Tammy Wesley Robertson. My colleague will share with you amazing recipes too. Bye for now, and see you next month in Abu Dhabi.
Wow, all of these recipes look amazing. Hello, everyone. My name is Tammy Robertson. I am a nurse and the president and founder of Planted into Wellness. I am coming to you from sunny Southwest Florida, from the Sarasota area. Hope you all are doing well and surviving winter, which is in most parts of the country, but fortunately not here. I have 2 amazing recipes for you today. One of the first ones is a nacho cheese, which we love on game days and whenever we want to have any nachos. It's a wonderful, simple, easy recipe. And then we have a more decadent tofu goat cheese. All right, so we are going to get started. First, we're going to get started with the tofu goat cheese. So we have all of our ingredients here. We're going to start off with our block of extra firm tofu. And I'm just going to crumble this into a food processor. And we're just crumbling it pretty finely just to make it that much easier in the food processor. We tend to eat a lot of tofu in our house and soy for the wonderful benefits for reproductive health, breast health. It's good for men, women, children of all ages. And we really like it. And of course, an excellent source of protein. But we don't worry about where we're going to get our protein on our whole food plant-based diet and lifestyle, because we get plenty enough as long as you have plenty of calories and eating a variety of foods. All right. So now all this is crumbled. And next, we have our refined coconut oil. Now, you don't want to get unrefined, because refined, the differences between refined and unrefined is that the refined has less of a coconut flavor and I believe has a higher smoke point, which we don't have to worry about today. So we don't want a coconut flavored tofu goat cheese, so that's why we're using the refined. And then we have our lemon juice. Just gonna stick all this in here. And apple cider vinegar. And then we have our white mellow miso paste. And then we have our extra virgin olive oil. And then in here we've got garlic. Now the recipe calls for 1 clove of garlic, but if you're garlic lovers like us, you could put 2 or more in there. And we also have some ground black pepper in here. So there goes our garlic and our salt and pepper. Get all that yummy goodness in here. And then last but not least, we've got unsweetened non-dairy milk. We are using unsweetened soy milk. So, put all these away. Now with this recipe, you're going to need to scrape down a few times. You want to maybe pulse it a little bit and then scrape it down. Just depends on your actual food processor. I have a little bit of the soy milk here just in case I need to add a little bit more, but it should be okay. All right, we're just gonna start pulsing, and then I'm gonna scrape and pulse and scrape till we get to a nice creamy texture. Okay, and it's getting there. Pat it down a little bit. And give it another whirl here. All right, this is looking great. And I'm going to add just a little bit of soy milk. And we blend again. Okay. I'm actually going to use my chute this time. All right, we're going to put a little more in here. And there's... Okay. I think maybe one more blend, and I think we should be there. And this is really nice and creamy and decadent. All right, I think one more blend, and we should be right there. All right. And we are done. And I'm going to show you up close what this looks like once it has been thoroughly blended. So you can see how creamy, and it's very, very thick. See, it doesn't come out at all. Let me show you. Very thick. I've got this turned, and it's not going anywhere. Okay, so then you want to set this aside and put this into your ramekins, and then you want to put it in your refrigerator for about 6 to 8 hours. Now, I do have some that are pre-made. I'm going to grab those. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Now, I have added some extras. You can add a little bit. This is a chives, fresh chives that I rolled the vegan goat cheese in. You could use any type of, you could even use fresh dill, any type of herbs that you like. And so what I did from here, from this stage, I took my spatula and I actually used as a mold my tofu container. So I used tofu earlier, and then I kept this container, and then I put some saran wrap in, and then kind of added it to both sides, and then kind of pressed it down, and then that's what this looks like. As you can see, that one area is still got the still has the cheese in it. And then also you could just put it into ramekins and serve it like this as well. It's delicious either way, but that is the whole process. And I'm going to show you up close what this beautiful goat cheese log, vegan, of course, looks like with the chives. Doesn't that look delicious? Look at that. Yummy, yummy, yummy. And this is great to serve anytime when you have guests, and it's a real hit. All right. Now, moving on to our second recipe. This is the game-changing nacho cheese sauce. And if you don't have a high-speed blender like a Vitamix, you should just use hot water, because with this recipe, with the Vitamix, it's easy to put it onto like hot soups. Even if your Vitamix doesn't have a hot soup hot soup option, you can just keep it going on high and it will heat up the sauce. So either way, if you don't have a high-speed blender or if you do, those are the two options for you. It's really great. So first we're going to take our rolled oats. Well, let me put the water in first. So I've got my kettle here and I put some hot water just to speed it up for you folks at home. So that's our 4 cups of hot water. And then we have our rolled oats. And then we've got nutritional yeast, aka nooch, lavender. And then we have our cornstarch,
Golden hour.
and then we've got some onion granules, sea salt, our roasted bell pepper in water, and that's going to give it that kind of yellowishy, orangey color. And then we've got our lemon juice and a little bit of liquid smoke. All right, we're gonna put all of this together and blend this up. Now, I'm just gonna blend this up for about a minute or so, but just so that you can get the idea. But you can go longer, and with your Vitamix, you can kind of hear the motor slow down a little bit, and that's when you know it's really nice and thick. After about 5 minutes, you can stop the blender after that, and then pour it right over those nachos. All right, here we go. All right. So basically, I stopped this just so that you can see, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. And it's already starting to get warm, and it is a little liquidy right now, but this will thicken up after you do it, depending upon your what you're using. After about 5 minutes, it's going to get super rich, super creamy, and thicken as it gets heated up. And this is what it looks like up close. There we go. And you can see it's getting to be a little bit thick now, but after more time, you just leave it and just listen out for that when it starts to slow down. And then you know your nacho cheese sauce is ready. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you for joining me in my kitchen today. And I am going to pass it over again to Ella. And I think she has also another nacho cheese for you. Well, I hope you all are well. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay warm out there. Ella, over to you.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Hi, everyone. I'm Ella Rodriguez, and I'm coming to you from Providence, Rhode Island. I will be making a spicy nacho sauce, a little bit of spin of the recipe that you just seen. And let's get started. I hope you like it. Nachos is actually one of my son's favorite meal that we have probably once a week. So this recipe is just a little bit of a twist from the regular nacho sauce that I make for my kids. We're going to start with some cashews. Best cashews that you can use are probably the raw cashews. If you don't have those on hand, you can use the roasted ones. Just make sure that it's unsalted as much as possible, and you can soak them at a time for a couple hours before you use them so they can make soft, so they can be softer. But I find them that they work just fine for my sauce, so I didn't soak mine. So we have a cup and a half of cashews, to which I'm going to add about 1.5 cups of water. You can use a little bit less if you want your sauce to be a little bit more thick, or a little bit more water if you like your sauce to be more runny. Just keep in mind that if you use your sauce immediately after you make it, it's runnier. If you let it sit for a couple hours overnight, it's going to be a little bit thicker. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so to that, I'm going to add roasted red peppers. You can roast your own peppers, of course. I like to have, because I make this recipe so often, I like to have roasted red pepper in jar all the time. Just make sure that it's in water and it's not in oil, the jar that you're buying it. And let's see what else. We're going to add some nutritional yeast. You've seen nutritional yeast already used in recipes. And I'm gonna put about half a cup. If you like a stronger flavor, you can put more. Use this recipe kind of like as a base, and then as you taste it, taste preferences. Okay. And we're going to have some seasonings. I like to use cumin, about 1.5 teaspoons of cumin. And I really like the flavor that cumin gives to food. I love to use it in my hummus and, other sauces that I make. Garlic powder. This recipe is really, really easy, as you can see. You just throw things in the blender and that's it. So it's 1.5 teaspoons also of garlic powder. And a pinch of salt, maybe about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now, of course, if you're using roasted salted cashews, you might want to omit the salt altogether. And to make it spicy, where's my other? I had a chipotle salsa handy, but I think my son moved it. For this, I'm going to use the a jalapeno salsa to give it that kick. But what's awesome about this spin on the nacho sauce is that every time you change the salsa, you change the flavor profile of your nacho sauce, so you can really play with it. You can say, if you want it really, really spicy, you go with a really strong spicy salsa. If you don't like it that spicy, you can just go with a mild one. So you can definitely play with it. So I put about 1/2 cup of that. And that's it. We're just going to mix all this stuff together. Here's my top. And you will see how our nice nacho sauce kind of comes together. All right, bear with me. And just like that, you have a beautiful, I really like the color. I don't know if you can really see through the video, but it's like a mild orangey type of color because of that pepper. And I like to just pour the sauce over corn chips, and then I add beans, black beans, and chopped tomatoes and cilantro, corn right over it. You can also make kind of like a burrito bowl or Buddha bowl and add different kind of stuff to it and use the sauce like that. So yeah, I'm going to have 2 different meals with the sauce for the rest of the week. I hope you enjoyed this quick twist of regular nacho sauce, and I hope you're going to try it.
Welcome to So Many Cooks in the Kitchen, and I'm Carolyn.
And I'm Cody.
And we're cooking on a ship. This is how.
So this is swaying.
Right, swaying back. Yes, Carolyn and Cody cooking on a ship, and this is for our cheese episode. So this is recorded because we're on a cruise ship right now, and today we're going to be talking about cheese. So we both teach a lot of Food for Life classes, sometimes online, sometimes in person. But one of the comments that I've gotten for years, since I've been a Food for Life instructor for 10 years, people tell me all the time, I think I could be vegan except for cheese. I can't live without cheese. Oh my gosh, I would just die without cheese. And so there's probably a reason behind that and a lot of neurochemical things going on with that, but that we won't go too much into. But for years I've been trying to find good vegan cheese alternatives that are healthy, and that's super hard to do. Like in the grocery store, you're going to find them full of coconut oil and whatever. And so trying to come up with some that were, within the guidelines of what we're doing this week on the ship, keeping it whole food, plant-based, and no salt, oil, or sugar. And so we have a couple different things, but we were supposed to do 3 today. We're doing 2, so that's what the ship got. So we're doing 2. You should be able to get the recipes at some point. And people watching on So Many Cooks in the Kitchen will have the recipes through the So Many Cooks in the Kitchen page.
So SoManyCooks.com.
SoManyCooks.com, and then also on Facebook and YouTube. So you should be able to get all the recipes. One of the things that I used to just really love before I went plant-based was macaroni and cheese. That was like one of my favorite things. And even just like the cheap stuff out of the box, like I really liked that. And so this is kind of what we would call crafty mac and cheese. So it's a little crafty. And we're going to make that first, and then we're going to do a cheese sauce you can use in 3 different ways. So we're going to start with the instant one first. So what did you want to say before that? Is there anything? We're talking about cheese, like, we have a hard time giving up cheese.
That was one thing that's a little bit tough for me too. Every night I'd have like a little plate of nachos with some cheese, melted cheese. And so I got away from that, but that was one of those things that was hard to do at first. But I actually substituted hummus instead of my cheese, and that was a really good substitute. So, but I am excited to do these recipes. I have not done these yet. So these are Carolyn's recipes, and so yeah, thanks for joining us.
All right, so we're going to start with cashews, which I know there are people with tree nut allergies, so I want to point out that they've already made the samples that you guys are going to taste with cashews. But if you have a tree nut allergy at home, you could probably also do this with sunflower seeds. This does have to stay dry, so I would not suggest using tofu or beans in this case. But sunflower seeds could probably work. I haven't tried it that way, but I do think they would work. So you need a whole cup of dry cashews, not soaked. All right, and we're putting all of this into our, high-speed blender, the Vitamix, which this is a very interesting Vitamix they have, but we're gonna use this. And then we have oats.
1/3 cup.
1/3 cup of oats, which this is, you know what? Okay, yeah, 1/3 cup. So this is a 1/2 cup measure, so I'm just gonna guess about how much a 1/3 cup is. Let's see, okay, that's probably about 1/3 of a cup. All right.
And 3/4 cups nutritional yeast.
3/4 of a cup of nutritional yeast. Okay, so nutritional yeast is one of those things that tastes like cheese, but there's no cheese in it. So everybody's pretty familiar, right, with nutritional yeast. All right, so we're going to do 3/4 of a cup of that.
Also called
Nooch. Vegan catnip is another one. Okay,
That's a good one.
all right. That's about 3. They actually put 3/4 of a cup. That's good. All right. What's next?
1 tablespoon paprika.
1 tablespoon of paprika. Okay, so you could use regular paprika or smoked paprika. Either one would be fine. Ah, did it stop working? Can you guys hear me anymore? I think it might have stopped working. Ah, okay. So 1 tablespoon of paprika. So regular or smoked paprika. Okay.
Yeah.
What's next?
1/4 cup tapioca flour.
1/4 cup tapioca flour. Okay, so they did not have tapioca. Oh, it's working again. They did not have tapioca flour, so they made it themselves on the ship by taking tapioca and grinding it up until it was flour, which is pretty cool. So,
great.
Everybody familiar with tapioca flour? What that is? Okay, so tapioca flour comes from the root of the cassava plant. So it is a root vegetable. And it's basically just dried and ground up. So that's 1/4 of a cup of tapioca flour, also known as tapioca starch. Okay, what's next?
All right, we need 1 tablespoon of dried date powder.
Okay, so at home, I would use date powder, but they didn't have date powder on board either. So they have dates, and they dried a bunch of them and then kind of did them up really fine. So we don't actually have date powder, but we're close. So that's about 1 tablespoon of date powder or chopped dates.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, next is 2 teaspoons of mustard, powdered mustard.
2 teaspoons powdered mustard. Okay. And let's see if I can find the teaspoon. That's teaspoon. 2 teaspoons of powdered mustard. 1 and 2.
Okay. All right, and
Is that it?
2 teaspoons onion powder.
Oh, where did the onion powder go? I don't see it. Oh, there's onion powder over there. We could grab more. That's probably why there were 2.
Yep.
There we go. Okay, so 2 teaspoons of onion powder. Make sure that is onion powder. Yep. Sure. You put it back over there. Thank you. Okay. Is that it? I think that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, that's it. So it should stay pretty dry. We don't want this to turn into any kind of cashew butter. So we're not trying to whirl it up. It's a very interesting Vitamix. If I can get the lid back. Okay, there we go. Okay. And then we're going to turn that up. And we basically just want it to be a powder. So if you go too long, you might accidentally make cashew butter. We're not trying to make cashew butter. It's supposed to stay dry, like an instant cheese mix, right, at the store. Okay, so try it a little bit more. That actually looks pretty good. Okay, I think we did it. All right, that's very powdery, as you can see, powder, just like you would find in one of those little crafty boxes at the store. All right. And so we're going to take a third, and they already made some actually, so we're going to use that. And we're going to take 1/3 of a cup of it and put it, and turn this up a little bit. Heat. There we go. Okay. So we're going to cook in here. So you're going to do 1/3 of a cup of it to a cup of non-dairy milk. And the one that they already made as a sample is with soy milk. So it's unsweetened, organic soy milk. Okay, so 1/3 of a cup. Just gonna kind of guess, because that's a 1/2 cup measure again. Unsweetened. You do want unsweetened and not vanilla flavored, because that would be really gross. So, and we don't want. Nobody wants vanilla flavored mac and cheese cake. That would be nasty.
Be like onion cheesecake, right?
Onion cheesecake. Yeah. That's a joke for Dilip if he's watching. Okay, so about 1/3 of a cup. There we go. I'll put that in this pan with 1 cup of the non-dairy milk. So you could use any non-dairy milk you want to. Just make sure it's unsweetened and not vanilla flavored, because yuck. All right. Oh, that's going fast. Going faster. That's going hot. Yeah. Okay. Maybe. Just I could figure out how. Okay, there we go. And you're going to start just whisking it up. And it's going to get nice and thick. Okay. Smells good. Okay, so you want to get the lumps out of it. And then just kind of bring it to a boil. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Yeah. Okay. There we go.
It's already steaming.
It's already steaming. We're going to let you taste it over some pasta. So they've already cooked the pasta, and they've actually already made a bunch of this. So we're going to let you taste it. Okay, it's getting there. Look at that. Okay, very nice, very nice. Okay. Well, it's going. It's getting thicker and thicker. I can get those lumps out. So, all right, that looks pretty good. It's getting there. So once it gets nice and thick, about as thick as you would like it to be, so you can just keep going as it's going to keep thickening. Then you pour it over cooked pasta. And if you want to, you could put it in the oven and sprinkle some breadcrumbs or something on top if you would like to do it that way, or just serve it like this, just like you would if it was one of those boxes at the store.
It's like it's boiling now.
It is starting to come to a boil. So now that it's coming to a boil, it's going to get really thick. Because of that tapioca starch that's in it, it will thicken up a lot. But we don't want to go too much and get it to be like stringy. So we're just getting it nice and thick. Oh, look at that. That is beautiful. Okay. It smells really good. Can you guys smell that? Yeah. It actually smells really good. All right. It's almost there, almost there. Okay, and I don't want to do too much on it, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit. Okay, that's really thick and bubbly. Can you guys see that? I'm not sure anybody can. You can stand up if you want to and take a look, but it's very thick and bubbly.
Yeah. Pull it up.
Yep. And so we can kind of show you, like, see how, like, it's getting really thick and bubbly. It still has a little bit of clumpiness to it, but okay. I should probably taste that too. Let's see. All right, I'm going to turn it down just a little so it doesn't go too far. Let's see. Let's taste it. It's really good. Okay. So if you want to, you could add a little bit, maybe just a little bit of lemon juice to kind of brighten up the flavor. You can do that since we're not using salt. All right, that looks done. Yeah, I think that is done. All right, perfect. Look at that. Very nice. All right, that is very thick and creamy. Do we have another clean spoon?
Yeah.
Hold it up and show. Okay, so yeah, there's still a few clumps in it, but
I'm gonna try that one.
yeah, you want to try it? Okay. All right, there we go.
Thank you.
Below, hot.
I don't want to damage my taste bud.
No, don't do that. All right, still a little clumpy. Okay. Isn't that good?
Yeah, that's very tasty.
And it's quite good. So, and just a tiny hint of sweetness from the dates. Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, so I've turned that off, and we're gonna set that aside. And we're gonna do our next one. So I'm gonna get that right there if you guys wanna take a look at it. So you can see, that looks like, I'm trying, it's as loud as it gets. So yeah, okay. So we're gonna work on the next one.
Yep.
Which is, I'm gonna do that, and we'll go to that. Okay, so it's one called Incredible Vegan Cheese, which is also made with cashews. Again, this one you could use, you could probably use beans in it or tofu, but I did it with cashews just because of the mouthfeel of it, but you could also probably use sunflower seeds in this one as well. Okay, so we're gonna start with the cooked cashews. Yep, there we go. What's next?
2 garlic cloves,
Two
peeled.
whole garlic cloves. We're just gonna throw them in because why not?
Nice
All
big ones.
Nice big ones.
All right, 2 tablespoons of, apple cider vinegar, which is right here.
There it is. 2 tablespoons apple cider vinegar. Okay.
Then we need 2 tablespoons tapioca flour.
2 tablespoons of tapioca flour. I think that's what this is. 1 and 2. That looks good.
All right. Okay. 2 tablespoons nutritional yeast.
2 tablespoons nutritional yeast. That's what that is.
And then 1 cup of water.
And wasn't there onion powder?
Yeah.
Oh no, that was on the other one and it was sitting over there. No wonder. 1 cup of water. Oh yeah.
A cup of water.
We need 1 cup of water. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. Yep. Okay. So the cashews have already been boiled, and that's the first part. You want to boil the cashews.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you guys have samples. What do you think? It's pretty good, isn't it? So, all right. 1 cup. Oh yeah, there's the cup measure. Got it. 1 cup of water. All right. There we go. There we go. All right. And we're just going to whirl that up with the lid. Hang on. I'll put the lid on. Don't want anything exploding. Okay. Get on there. It's a very interesting Vitamix we have here. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna roll that up. Okay, let me take a look at it. So this is a really interesting recipe. Oh, that looks great. Okay, so this is a very interesting recipe because you can do 3 different things with it, okay? So just like this, without cooking it, you can drizzle it over pizza. So if you're about to put your pizza in the oven, and it's already got everything on it you want. So you've got your whole grain crust, you've got some tomato sauce, you've got some beautiful roasted vegetables, whatever you want on it. Then drizzle this over the top of the pizza and put it in the oven, 450 or so. You want a pretty hot temperature, and bake it. And this stuff puffs up and turns kind of brown and gets a little stretchy, okay? So that's first way to do it. Just like this, it's done. Yep, hold it up.
This is called the Incredible Vegan Cheese.
3 ways.
3 ways.
Incredible vegan cheese, 3 ways. So this is way number 1. All we've done is just whirl it up, and then you pour it over something you're putting in the oven. So it has to go in the oven at about 450 degrees, which it probably says right there to use as pizza. Okay.
Yep.
So it needs to be at least 425 to 450, pretty hot, because then that's going to make it puff up and get a little stretchy, which is pretty cool. That's what we want on our cheese pizza, right? Okay. And then the second way is we're going to cook some of it. And the way you guys are gonna taste it today is the second way, okay?
And raw, it can be raw without any cook.
So without cooking it is when you can use it on pizza, okay? But after that, you're gonna cook it, and let me turn this up a little bit. Turn it down, turn it way down, okay. And then they gave me a spatula. Where did it go? I've lost my spatula.
Oh, right here.
Oh, spatula, there it is. Okay, so we're gonna just cook it a little bit until it starts to thicken up. And the way you guys are gonna taste it today is way number 2, okay? So you cook it until it starts to bubble and thicken, and that tapioca starch that's in it will help it thicken up a lot. Okay. And then way number 3 that we're not going to taste today because I didn't really have time to do this, but way number 3 is when you keep cooking and cooking and cooking it until it gets really thick, and then pour it into a silicone mold or whatever shape you like. Put it in the refrigerator covered, and the next day when you pull it out, it's really firm. Now, it's not firm enough to shred, but it's firm enough to slice it. Then have it on some whole grain crackers. So it's a nice, thicker, still soft cheese, but it's, you know, not pourable anymore, so it's nice and thick. So you can make little slices out of it. And then this way, way number 2, what I like to do with this is add spinach, some cooked spinach and some artichoke hearts, and make like a spinach artichoke dip. And maybe some red pepper flakes. You're gonna need red pepper flakes and a little bit of lemon juice and some cracked pepper, and it tastes like spinach artichoke dip. All right, so it's already starting to thicken up. There it goes. All right, it's even clumping up a little bit. All right, so the sample way they did it was way number 2, okay? And then they have samples you can taste that are just gonna be the sauce, or you could have it with a breadstick, but the breadsticks do have a little bit of salt in them and gluten. So they wanted everybody to know that. So if you don't want the salt that's in the breadsticks or the gluten, just tell them you would like the cheese, just the sauce with a little spoon, okay? And you can taste it that way. But they've got so they do have breadsticks if you wanna try it that way.
That's really thickening up quick.
Really thickening, yeah. So
Constantly have to stir it pretty much, don't you?
yes, you do have to stir and stir and stir.
So don't walk away when you're doing that.
And do not walk away, exactly. So this is one of those where you have to stand here and babysit, but look how thick that's gotten. It's very, very thick, like seriously thick. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, I picked it up off the induction. Beeped at me. All right. So the finished one. This is way number 2, and this is the finished, so you can see how thick it is. Very, very thick, like really thick. like mayonnaise. That is very thick. And then if you just keep going and going for probably a good 10 more minutes, it's gonna get really, really thick, like way thicker than that. You can pour it into something and chill it overnight. And it should, I'm gonna try to get it to that level because we're stopping here right now because we already have that, so that's way number 2. I'm gonna see if I can get it to number 3. If I can get it to go thick and hard enough here. It's, okay, it's getting there. It smells so good. You gonna taste it? Yeah, see what you think. Okay, there you go. I was gonna give that to you. There you go. Okay, wow. Wow, that is getting really thick. Okay, woo. Yep, look at that.
The only thing you did different heat time?
Sorry?
The only thing you did different was cooking time.
Cooking time.
Yeah.
That's it.
The longer you cook it, the thicker it's gonna get.
Yep.
Hot water is gonna evaporate.
Look how thick that is.
Yeah, it's really tasty.
Seriously thick. Ooh, I'm sorry, I keep picking it up off the induction thing and it's beeping at me. Okay, look how thick that is. Oh my gosh. So right now it's beyond hummus stage. It's like way thicker than hummus. And it's starting to really clump together. Look at that. Okay. Is it good?
Yeah, that's
Let me
excellent.
taste. Okay, let's see. Let me give it a try.
That garlic really gives it that kick.
Oh yeah.
It's really tasty. I love garlic though.
Me too. Garlic on anything except chocolate. There we go. Oh my goodness, look at that.
So if we had a mold,
Look how thick that is, yeah. So it's just about to the stage where you would pour it into a silicone mold, and then you would just put it, make sure it's covered, but bring it to room temperature first. Don't just stick it right like this hot in the refrigerator. That's not a good idea for any food ever. So bring it to room temperature first, and then put it in the refrigerator. So this, I mean, it's like seriously like really, really, really thick. So almost there for stage 3. Still not quite thick enough to mold it. Oh, I missed the pan.
so can we make this in bigger batches?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. All right. So yeah, this makes just like one nice round of cheese that when you take it out of the refrigerator the next day, unmold it, you can just slice it with a knife and put it on. I serve it on crackers and vegetable sticks, things like that. But it's very, very thick and sliceable. Okay, it's just about there. Look at that. Look how thick and beautiful.
Yeah.
Now look at that. That is so thick. All right, I think that's just about done. This is a nice high temperature. You do have to babysit this. You can't walk away from this if you're doing it, so you have to stick with it. But once it starts to get to the point where it's like a big clump that wants to stick together, you're probably about right in putting it in the refrigerator. Okay. I think that's pretty close.
Okay.
That's pretty close to stage 3. So I'm just gonna turn that off so it doesn't burn. Okay, and it just smells incredible. Yeah, oh my gosh. Okay. So what I like to do with it is slice it and use it on sandwiches, like whole grain bread, with some vegetables. Really good. Got it? It's extremely thick. Wow. And it's actually stretchy. Look at that.
Oh,
Look at that.
nice.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Yep, it's like very, very cheesy. So, yep. Honestly, at home, I'd probably let it go a little further for stage 3 just to really, really get it dried out and evaporate all that liquid out of it. And it's just going to be super hard. So, well, not super hard, but, firmer than this.
Could we add like herbs to this?
Absolutely.
Cheese?
Yeah, so this would be a good stage where you could put in some fresh herbs. Like, that's a good idea. So basil, oregano, maybe some fresh cracked pepper, thyme, that kind of thing, whatever herbs you like. But I would bring it to room temperature first and then mix in your herbs and then put it in the refrigerator so you'll have a nice herb soft cheese that is sliceable. So, yeah. Has everybody tasted the stage 2 one where it's kind of what do you think?
But the breadsticks, yeah, it's really good.
It's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah.
Make a nice dip.
So it actually tastes different, but you didn't add any different flavors to it, correct?
No, it's just the cooking time.
Like the stage 2, and make a mac and cheese out of pie. using questi to das Muridor.
Yes, so we actually have stage 2 right here. So this is stage 2 level, and it looks kind of like mayonnaise at stage 2. And then if you keep cooking, it's very thick, but it's not really stretchy yet. So once you've gotten it mayonnaise, that's stage 2, and you could add in things like, if you want to, add in some cooked spinach that maybe you wring the water out of a little bit, but cooked spinach and some artichoke hearts chopped up in it, and some red pepper flakes, some lemon juice, that kind of thing, just a little bit of lemon juice, and that would make a really good spinach artichoke dip right there. And then just keep going and going with it and see how much the texture has changed from stage 2, mayonnaise-like, to stage 3, really stretchy and cheesy. So yeah, it's kind of incredible, which is why it's incredible cheese 3 ways.
I love it. Thank you.
All right, Cody and Carolyn, your cheeses look great. I can't wait to try them. Hi, everyone. I'm Susanna Dickman from Evansville, Indiana. It's so great that you chose to spend your Saturday afternoon with us. Today, I'm going to make 2 different kinds of cheeses with tofu as the main ingredient. And these are just my family's favorites, and I make them often. The first one I'm going to make is a feta. And truth be told, I never actually liked feta cheese, real feta cheese, but I love this tofu feta, and it's really easy. We like to put it on salads, over pasta, or sometimes just by itself. It's just so good. So I've already mixed up my liquids, but what we have here is yellow miso, some red wine vinegar, and some lemon juice and a little bit of water. And I've whisked it really well because you know miso is really thick and I wanted to make sure it was incorporated. So we're gonna mix our seasoning first. And so I'm gonna put my mixture, and you could see some of the miso in there, but it will get incorporated when we put in our tofu. Let me get all that out. And then we have spices, and our spices consist of oregano, rosemary, and basil, and a little bit of salt, and then some nutritional yeast. So we're gonna pour that in, and I'm gonna mix it up so that it gets incorporated very well. Get all those spices in there. And you know, this is the hardest part, just mixing that up. So I have a half a block of tofu here. And you can either cut your tofu into little cubes like this, which I have done with some of it, and I'm gonna do that with the rest. Or you can just take your tofu block and just break it up into little pieces. I like to cut it because then sometimes some of the pieces, if you break them up, get too little, and I like to have a nice chunk when I'm eating my feta. So let me get this in here. Now this, as you know, tofu kind of, takes on the flavors of what you use. And it's a really good idea to let it marinate for a while. So you could absolutely eat this now and it's going to be good. But if you put it in the fridge and let it sit for at least an hour, sometimes I'll make it, in the afternoon, and then knowing I want to eat it tomorrow on maybe my pasta salad or my green salad, so that the tofu really absorbs the flavors of the marinade. But that's it. So that's our first recipe. Super easy and so, so, so tasty. Like I said, I'll just, go in the fridge and look around and grab a couple of pieces of feta. All right. So there's our feta. That's going to be oh, I left a piece out there. Our next recipe is a ricotta. And this recipe we love to make for lasagna. I'm actually going to be making a lasagna tomorrow for company. And this recipe is best when you actually make it, that you can make it a day or two before. Because again, we know that tofu, you know, by itself really doesn't have any flavor. So we want the flavors to marinate, and we want the tofu to really taste good. So this time it doesn't matter how I break up my tofu because we're going to process it. So I'm just going to chunk it up like that. We're going to add a can of chickpeas, and I drained the chickpeas, but I didn't rinse them. So you can see, let me get my spatula, that there is still a little bit of the aquafaba in there, but that's okay because we're only going to put a little bit more liquid in this recipe. So we want to have that liquid from the beans. So just drain your beans, but do not rinse them. This is 2 tablespoons of unsweetened rice vinegar. You know, there is sweetened rice vinegar and unsweetened, and for this we want unsweetened. And then for this one we have basil and garlic powder and salt. So I'm going to pour that in. The last ingredient, which is quite a bit, is nutritional yeast. And this is a 1/2 cup. So let me make sure I get all of that in. And I always like, you know how when you turn it on and the powdered stuff goes to the top? So I like to just mix it so that we get that nutritional yeast further down on the bottom so that it's really mixed through and it doesn't jump up on there. Okay, so let me turn this on. It won't be very loud, so I'm not going to mute, but I have to get it on. Okay, and I'm going to pulse for just a little bit. We want to make sure that, you know, the tofu is broken up, but you can see it's not very wet. It's a dry, which is what we want. Whoops. All right. So that's it. Let me take this off so I can show you what our feta looks like. It's really thick, which is what you want. And like I said, it's best when you make it a day ahead. Put it in your fridge, and tomorrow when I make my lasagna, it's just, I just love it. I mean, it really is a great ricotta recipe. So simple to make, and that's it. So cheese, yum. I love both the feta and the ricotta. All right, so I'm the last cook today, and we're having the Q&A. And just like always, if you stay for the Q&A and you ask a question, you'll be eligible to win a prize. We have a raffle after each class. So stick around, think of a question to ask, and I'll see you in the Q&A. Thanks for watching, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Susanna. We'll give Susanna a second to rearrange and be there for Q&A. And let me bring Cody in. Cody's having a problem with her camera. And Carolyn is going to be joining, but she had an appointment that ran late, so she's going to join hopefully soon from the car. It looks like Susanna is getting herself situated. Let's add Susanna. There's Susanna. That was fast. Welcome, Susanna. You went to the kitchen. I guess you're still in your kitchen.
I am.
Well, Cody's with us too. She's having camera problems. So,
Oh no.
Yeah, hopefully at least your audio will work, Cody. Cody, I sure missed you and Carolyn on the cruise, but it looked great. All right. So, welcome to the Q&A segment of the show. I loved watching all of the recipes. They were all great. Um, and let's come to Peggy's question in just a second. So from this point on, starting with Peggy's question, Susanna, can I ask you to keep track of who asked questions and then give
I
a
sure
number?
will.
Serialize it. Thank you. So from this point on, questions that come in, there've been so many good questions, and we appreciate your questions. Your questions. We're all in this together. I mean, we go through training, and we know something about nutrition and food, but a lot of you know a lot about food and about nutrition as well. And so the questions sometimes, I won't speak for the others, but inform me as well. So thanks for your questions. Questions really are two-way. Today in math circle, I teach math. I had a very shy first or second grader, and at math circle, the parents are there too, and he was telling me my daughter's really shy, and so I pointed out to her. I said that that a lot of times there's questions we don't know, and by asking and by making mistakes or just asking questions, we all learn, and I help to encourage her. So thank you for your wonderful questions. And a bunch of them are rolling in. So let's start with Peggy Hughes. Peggy says, I've made plant-based cheese that calls for kappa carrageenan. I know what carrageenan is, but I don't know what kappa carrageenan is. What are your thoughts on that ingredient? So Cody or Susanna, do you have any thoughts? I've never heard of this ingredient. I know carrageenan is a thickener, and I think it comes from
Right,
seaweed, I think.
right. I have it in my cupboard. Let me go
Okay.
check.
Okay, Cody, while she's checking, do you know this ingredient? So let's come back. I know well, we'll give Susanna a second. She has her.
Okay. So this is what I have. I don't know how well you can see it.
Yep.
And you're right. This is a natural firm gelling agent made from red algae. And I have this in my cupboard too, because I think Kathy Hester, who is very famous in the plant-based world and has lots of wonderful recipes, uses this in some of her cheese recipes. So I don't use it very often, but it's a form of algae, red algae. Who asked that question?
That was Peggy Hughes.
Okay.
And
All right.
I just got a message. Carolyn just finished her appointment, so she should be
Mm-hmm.
joining very, very soon. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, a bunch of more questions coming in. Yes, thanks, Sandy. I agree. So many great recipes to try. I'm sorry this was the first show that I didn't cook at all, but at least I shared my cheese sauce recipe, and I hope that you'll try that. Okay. All right, so Lee has a question. Are there any substitutions? Tempeh for tofu, sweet potato for red peppers. So in my recipe, I mentioned red pepper to add color, and I wouldn't substitute sweet potato. I guess you can put some cooked sweet potato, like a deep orange one, and I guess you could use that for color. I've never done that. The sweet potato is so starchy. I think you're going to get better results with the red pepper. Now, where do we? Yeah, tempeh is a great food, but in these cheese recipes, yeah, I wouldn't use the tempeh. But Lee, you know what I would do if for any reason you avoid tofu, like my wife can't eat tofu, it bothers her, then, this would be a good time to kind of reimagine and come up with a cheese because tempeh is already a cake, it's already hard. I wish Carolyn were on. We'll ask her this again. But I bet you, and maybe Susanna, you or Cody have some thoughts, but I wonder if you couldn't make a cheese with the tempeh, because the tempeh is already kind of a block. Do you, either of you guys have any ideas?
Oh, I don't think so. I've never processed tempeh. Do you think it would get as silky and smooth as tofu?
No. My
You
thought
know?
is it wouldn't get silky and smooth, but I think the texture would be nice because you'd have a kind of solid cake. I wonder
Okay.
if you could, I don't know, maybe make some nice yogurt and then put it in yogurt and bake it so you get like
Hmm.
the sourness of the yogurt outside it.
I don't know. It'd be something to experiment, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So good one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know any tempeh-based cheeses. And, to be honest, the problem with I love tempeh, but the
Mhm.
problem with tempeh and cheese is tempeh has a pretty pronounced flavor,
Mhm.
and it's not a cheesy flavor. So, if you can't eat tofu, and please correct me, Susanna or Cody. And Cody said because her audio is not working, she'll come on and anytime she has something to share. Um, if you can't have tofu, then you're going to be a little bit out of luck with cheeses. But you can use a pumpkin-based tofu. What's it called? Pumfu. There's some lentil-based tofu. So tofu does not imply soy. It can be other beans. So,
And
but
Dilip, I know when I first became plant-based, Happy Herbivore, who has written a lot of the recipes for Dr. Barnard's books, she has a couple of cheese, like a nacho cheese that uses oats. It does not use tofu.
okay.
So, if someone is interested in some of those, they can email me. What is it? Susanna.dickman at So Many Cooks.
Yeah, just Susanna has So Many Cooks.
Okay, Susanna, So Many Cooks. And I can share those with you. But she has a website too. She doesn't do a lot of public things anymore, but she has a website. And so there are a lot of oat-based cheeses that don't use tempeh or don't use tofu if you can't have tofu.
Now, Janet asked, what is kappa carrageenan? And that's what we were just discussing. So I don't know what kappa means, but I don't know if your packet says anything specific about the kappa part.
Well, no, it doesn't. It says it's a popular vegan gelling agent made from natural red algae. It forms a gel that is firmer and more brittle than traditional gelatin. So it's like a gelatin replacement, but it is vegan.
Which is
and it's
carrageenan.
red algae.
Right,
Yes.
but how is kappa different from regular carrageenan?
I don't know. I didn't know there was
Yeah.
a regular one. Have no
Yeah.
idea.
I wish Karen were on the show. I know I'm not revealing too much personal information because she shared herself, but I just want to remind you, Karen is a constant on our show, just like you are, Susanna and Cody and Carolyn. But she was injured and she's still recovering many months later from a hiking accident. And so she did join one of her shows. She's still not really able to cook, but she did join one of her shows and she talked about she talked. And so I'm hoping that I'm hoping she fully recovers so she's back in the saddle, so to speak. Oh, that's probably not the best phrase to use, but we'd love to have her back. So I don't think any of us know what kappa means and how it's different from carrageenan. Okay, but Janet, you did have another question. Is there any substitute for coconut oil? And you did point out, I think it was Tammy who did use a little bit of oil. We generally don't use any oil in our cooking. There are sometimes exceptions, and Tammy couldn't be here for Q&A. I'm not sure why she used coconut oil in her segment. When I make popcorn, I put a tiny bit of oil on the pan and I wipe it off. When I brown my tempeh, I put a tiny bit of oil and I wipe that off, so you get a trivial amount of oil. So I am guessing, because with cheese, you traditionally have like a fatty, it's kind of fatty. And of course, we try to prepare food that is healthy and that doesn't have added fat. So yeah, instead of coconut oil, which I think was in Tammy's soft cheese, I had recommended maybe sunflower seeds. I don't know. I'm going to bring you on, Cody, because I know that you're in the back just waiting to say something. So we can't see Cody, but come on back in, Cody, and see what you have to say about a substitute for coconut oil.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, very
okay.
well.
Okay, so I think, you'll see oils added into these vegan cheese recipes to kind of replicate that kind of mouthfeel. I mean, if you're oil free, you could just try it with water, but it may not set up as well once you put it in the fridge, because the coconut oil will also firm up when it gets cold. So it just kind of depends on the recipe and what you're looking for, with it. So, if you really want to go oil free, then I would search oil free vegan cheese recipes and go with that.
And most of our recipes today are oil free.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So it just kind of depends. And I think Tammy's just showing you there's another way to do it if you choose to do oil in your diet,
One thing I'd like to invite you to think about is if you look at the space of plant-based nutrition, there's so much commonality there's a little bit of difference in terms of oil and fat. There are folks who say, don't try to use no oil whatsoever, and that's generally what we recommend. There are people who say oil is actually healthy, a tiny bit of it's healthy, and there's other people who say it may not be healthy, but a little bit is fine. Uh, so, for example, when I eat out, I prefer no oil, and if we go to a restaurant, I will ask them, because they're generally not familiar with cooking with no oil. I'll ask them use as little oil as possible. But think of it this way: we all eat things that aren't optimal at times. Maybe a little bit of oil, maybe some chocolate, maybe nuts have, I think, a place in a healthy diet. But maybe you're at a Super Bowl party and those bowl of pecans look really, really good. Generally, we should not be snacking on nuts, but maybe once or twice a year we do that. Potato chips. So thanks to my wife, I never buy potato chips. When I met her, I wasn't a Food for Life instructor, and my grocery cart always included a bag of potato chips, right? I love potato chips. I really do. Oh, there's Carolyn. I love potato chips. And hi, Carolyn. We're just talking about avoiding oil.
There we go.
That's good. That's good. Thanks for joining us. I know you had an appointment, and we really appreciate your coming in on the car. We can see little pieces of Alabama behind you, Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah, there we go. Other cars in a parking lot.
but let me finish my thought on oil. So whether it's oil, so let's talk about potato chips. I don't buy potato chips, and I really like them. When I go to parties and there's a bowl of potato chips, I'll definitely have a couple. How much impact does 4 times a year my having a handful or 2 or 3 handfuls of potato chip have on health? Zero, almost zero. And so the same thing, if you have a favorite recipe, you're oil-free like most of us are, but you have a favorite recipe that does call for a little bit of oil, uh, after all, it is a cheese. It's not as unhealthy as dairy cheese. So you take it as a calculated risk, basically. Carolyn or Susanna or Cody, did you want to add to that about when occasionally we have recipes that have things in it and we're not talking about meat or eggs or dairy at all. We're talking about higher fat things. Did you want to share anything beyond what I shared on that?
I usually substitute things like applesauce when it calls for like a half a cup of oil in something. I just do a half a cup of applesauce. So if it's, like a baked good. So
Yeah, we were talking about cheese though.
oh, cheese.
So I was
like a
suggesting
cheese
sunflower seeds.
sauce?
Would
Yeah, I can do that.
aquafaba be because I substitute aquafaba for salad dressings that I come across that have oil, but I don't know for the cheese if that would work. I mean, I personally do not use oil at all at home. As you said, Dilip, if I go to a plant-based or vegan restaurant, I know they're using a little bit of oil, and I'm going to eat whatever is there because it's better than not. But I would just look for a recipe that, there are tons of cheese recipes. As I said, Kathy Hester is someone who really has done a lot with vegan cheeses and done a lot that have no oil. So she's got a lot of subs for you. I think I'd go somewhere like that.
One more thought on that is one of our giveaways, and I'm going to ask Carolyn to talk about Mayoko Schinner. So Mayoko is the master. She's undoubted master on vegan cheeses. Now, again, her recipes don't tend to be low fat, but think of cheese as, if you're having a higher fat cheese, think of it as a specialty. It's for a party or something. And so it's a Super Bowl party or a party for winning the math bowl or something like that. So, that's one of our giveaways, and we talked about, because we try to have our giveaways consistent with the way we cook, and we generally don't cook the way that all the cheeses are in Mayoko's wonderful book. But we decided this is kind of the standard for vegan cheeses. If you want to make vegan cheeses, and you need to at least know about Mayoko and maybe try some of her cheeses, and then you can. I'm really proud of us. We've come up with so many good recipes that are, and especially Carolyn, your recipes that you did with Cody are SOS. They don't even have salt. They're really, really cool. So hats off to you. But do you want to take a moment and talk about you had a wonderful summer experience with Mayoko Shinner in Italy. Do you want to take a moment and talk about
In
that?
October, I spent quite a bit of time in October with Miyoko in Naples, and she is absolutely a genius when it comes to cheese. In fact, we were at a restaurant one night, and the server accidentally brought us something that did not have vegan cheese. It had regular cheese, but the vegan cheese being served at the restaurant was so convincing that it was kind of hard to tell. She took one bite and she said, "Nope, this is actually real cheese." And the server argued with her and said, "It is no, 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 it's vegan." And she said, "I know the science on this better than anybody, and I can promise you this is actual cow cheese. This is not vegan cheese." And the server had to come back and apologize. She went back and figured it out. Yep, she was Miyoko was right. So I mean, her books on cheeses are fantastic, and that one that we're giving away today, I have it, and it's really wonderful. There actually are some that she's done that don't have any oil in them. So I've been making one that she taught me in October. She's such a genius when it comes to cheeses. She has figured out how to make mozzarella out of watermelon seeds, the kind that you buy at an Indian grocery store that have the black outer shell removed. So it's like white watermelon seeds, but amazing mozzarella. That one does have a little bit of oil in it, but she's just a genius when it comes to the creation of vegan cheeses. She's top notch, and there's some I've been making. I think it's a mascarpone that I learned how to make with her that does not have any oil, but it does require a specific type of culture called a mesophilic culture, and she gave us the website to be able to, where do you order that? I believe it's like cheesemaker dot. I can't remember if it's UK or CA, I think, cheesemaker.ca. I think it's Canada. So you can't go to cheesemaker.com. Yeah, you can't go to cheesemaker.com and get it because that will lead you nowhere. But it's a Canadian company, and I ordered some. So I have the mesophilic culture, and I have there's like thermophilic, mesophilic, all these different cultures that she's just become such an expert in. And she taught us how to make so many things, but I think my favorite was the mascarpone, it's kind of like Italian cream cheese, I guess. And there's no oil in it. It's
almond based, right?
It is. No, it's in this case it's sunflower seed based. Okay. So like 2 big cups. I can't remember the whole recipe, but I have all the ingredients except one I was missing that I finally got, but there's no oil. It does have sunflower seeds, coconut milk, mesophilic culture, things like that. So lemon juice, white vinegar, that sort of thing.
Let's move on. Sandy has 2 excellent questions. I'm going to first do a quick question, then a longer question. Actually, she has 3 questions. So she asks, any ideas on how to get a blue cheese flavor for the crumbles? If anybody would know, it would be you, Carolyn.
I would go with white vinegar. And maybe a mixture of white vinegar and lemon juice is going to give it more of that soury blue cheese flavor. So if you're making like a sauce and you want to do, let's say you do like an oil-free cheese sauce, and it would have carrots and potatoes, and maybe even throw in use waxy yellow potatoes. It gives it more of the body to it. Maybe some carrots for the color. A little cauliflower can also really thicken. Cashews. If you throw in like white vinegar in it, it will give it more of that sour flavor that you would get from a blue cheese. Also, you can order on Amazon a product that's made from sugar beets called lactic acid, and it is not a dairy-based lactic acid. It's sugar beet based, and it's the company that I think Miyoko recommends the most is Druid Hills or Druid Farms or something like that. It's Druid something, but it's on Amazon, and you can buy, and you don't need much, like 1/4 of a teaspoon of lactic acid powder, and it makes it really cheese flavored. Also, a pinch of like dehydrated lime juice or dehydrated lemon juice can go a long way to making things have that sour flavor that we get from what we experience when you eat cheese. Because if you think about it, when you take cow milk and you make cheese, it's been cultured, but it's also sour. There is that flavor that is it's really just hitting those sour taste buds. And salt. There's always salt. When you want something to taste like cheese, basically it has to taste like fat, salt, and a bit of sour. And that's what you experience when you eat cow-based cheese.
Sandy has a follow-up question. She said, interesting about culture, but what does the culture do? So the culture, I think, builds the flavor. That's what it basically does.
Right. It's building. So it's basically a bacteria that's
That's right.
partially digesting the whatever you put
And
it
changing
in,
the flavor.
and it changes the flavor of it. So
Just
if
like
you look at like
our friends who
yogurt, like
drink alcohol is the same thing, right? Or yogurt. Yogurt's a
right.
great example.
Yeah. So if you look at
Yeah,
yogurt, we add something to it to create like cultures in it that are
right. And
what we call probiotic.
I had a new experience with yogurt, so I make yogurt. And didn't I bring you some of my starter, Carolyn, when I came to visit you? I think I did. No? Okay. Cody, I
No,
brought you culture.
Cody. It was Cody.
But where I live, we never, ever, ever, ever lose power, but we lost power this week. And inside my house, it dropped to 53 degrees by the time power came on the next morning.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, got really cold inside. So I had started yogurt the night before. And it was going for like a couple hours. And of course, all night it was cold. And so when I was laying in bed, and I was under my blankets as long as I could until I had to get up, I was thinking about that yogurt. And I said, I better discard it because it probably started fermenting and then it became cold. And then when the heat came on, it probably became warm. And so I did discard it. It was just wasting some soy milk, unfortunately, but it wasn't that much. But at the bottom, there was, I could tell that it was already it was congealing, it was becoming yogurt, but it was a different texture. Probably because it started becoming yogurt and then got cold, and it was like a thick slurry, a little bit different than I'd expect with regular yogurt. Okay, let's get to a bunch more. There's so many good questions here, and Susanna, you're getting all the names as they come up, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay, so another from Sandy. Will the cheese that gets refrigerated hold its shape after being removed from the fridge? It depends on the cheese. If you have a soft cheese, as it comes to room temperature, it becomes more flexible. And by the way, a lot of flavors in foods like cheeses, again, those who are just joining us, we're talking about vegan cheeses. Although by accident, some of what we're saying may generalize to non-vegan cheeses. But generally, when you have a cheese and you bring it to room temperature, the flavor is going to be better. So let it sit for a little while. I'm just wondering how to look if served to non-plant-based people. So kind of like with any cheese, I think if you want to have nice and firmness, serve it cool.
So I have an answer to that too. If that's referring to the one that Cody and I did on the ship, there's the recipe that you can use 3 different ways. One, you pour it over pizza and it works like it's really weird how it just puffs up. It's the tapioca starch that does that. But then if you cook it and keep cooking it and cooking it and cooking it, I mean, probably we're talking 15, 20 minutes at least until it evaporates a lot of that moisture out of it. When you put it in the refrigerator in like a silicone pan or something, it needs to stay until it is thoroughly cold. So I would go overnight or at least 6 hours or so until it's really cold. It will hold its shape when you go to slice it, but I would consider it a soft slicing cheese because it doesn't have oil. And so if it were to have coconut oil or something like that in it, which we didn't use, then that would actually firm it up a lot more. But the way we made it, without any oil, without any salt, it comes out as a soft slicing cheese. So you could actually slice relatively thin slices of it and put it on bread and make like a really good grilled cheese sandwich out of it. It would be soft and kind of like, it's not really spreadable. It is soft and sliceable. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So it's not like cream cheese. It's not spreadable. You'll get thin, soft slices. So it's not
Cody,
hard.
Cody, I know you're having technical problems, so please, anytime you want to jump in, you can speak anytime you want, even though we can't see you. So feel free to jump in. And Lee, thank you so much. That was a very nice comment. Thanks for sharing the recipes. I always enjoy your shows, and we love your questions and your joining us. It's always good to see your name. Let's see. Here was an interesting question about lactic acid. Oh, sorry. Here's another question from Sandy. I had a book on making cheese, but I lost the book. I do remember some using psyllium husk that I bought, and I've seen that too. I still have the unopened container. Have you heard of using it? I have, but I've never done it.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact,
Did
I
you want to talk
just
about that?
made I just made cheese with psyllium husk the other day. So psyllium husk is actually just used to make it a little firmer. Psyllium husk is what would be used. Sometimes psyllium husk is used when you go buy Metamucil. That kind of thing is mostly just a fibrous substance. And so it doesn't have a lot of flavor, and it really just helps make things thicker or firmer. So Miyoko's recipe using the watermelon seeds also calls for, if I'm not mistaken, I make a lot of her recipes lately. It does call for psyllium husk in it as well. And so the whole point of the psyllium husk is to help firm it up. It should last. If you have an unopened bag, it should be fine, but definitely smell it just in case. If it smells off, then don't use it. But I think it should be fine because it's been stripped of everything except the fiber, basically. So there shouldn't be any oils in it to go bad. It should just be completely stripped of everything except the fiber. But the fiber is just used as a thickener or something that just firms things up. So we use it in the mozzarella.
There's a great question from Shirley Ann Mooney, and I don't know if you, I guess she's well known. Kathy Caton Grazzini is a fellow Food for Life instructor. I think she's in Connecticut. She's in India right now, or she was in India as of a few days ago, and she is awesome. I really like Kathy. I've never met her, but I've corresponded with her a number of times. So if you're watching, Kathy, feel free to add your own thought here. But Kathy apparently makes a vegan parm. And that's the thing, you know, I have to tell you that all of us Food for Life instructors have a lot of knowledge. I without a doubt, you know, before I met Susanna, for example, the moment I said there, I knew there was a Food for Life instructor in Indiana. I knew she was an expert and and she's great in the kitchen. Do you remember, Susanna, last minute you filled in for Cody at one of my immersions, and I knew, well, by then I knew you, so there was no doubt whatsoever. But anyhow, Food for Life instructors I think we're a pretty cool group. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I think PCRM is seeking a new batch of instructors for the next training, I think. And if you're interested, go to pcrm.org. Being a Food for Life instructor is just awesome because we get training and we get to share what we know about food and nutrition in the kitchen and cook for people who sign up for our classes, and always, even with doubters who come maybe because the husband or the wife or the partner said you need to go. And I sometimes have students like this in the first class, and when they start eating the food, they hear the theory, they say, yeah, that sounds good, but will I really like it? And they always love the food because the food is well designed by professional chefs, and it's just so tasty. But anyhow, fellow Food for Life instructor Kathy Caton Grazzini makes a vegan parm with dehydrated miso. Have you ever added miso to cheese recipes? So I've never made cheese. I make cheese sauce, but it seems to me that miso would be a good choice. Of course, miso is high in sodium, so be careful with that.
You just need a little bit, but I do add it all the time. When I make a cheese sauce, especially, I'll put maybe a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of it in there just because it gives it that salty umami kind of flavor that we look for in cheese. So yeah.
Thanks so much, Sandy. I think there's a couple more questions. I have a question too. Let me first ask my question. And it's a few, Susanna. I love tofu, and I sometimes marinate tofu, but I don't seem to have the same luck you do. When I marinate tofu, it doesn't seem to pick up the flavors. Have you done any experiments? I know Cody and I were talking about, and I don't know, Cody, if you want to speak up about putting tofu. We learned this in the cruise last year. The chefs there do this. It's putting tofu in a bag or in a container and then pulling all the air out and dehydrating it. Do you do anything like that, or do you just put your stuff? Is it just the kind of marinade you pick that brings all the flavor? Because when I marinate, even overnight, I get some flavor, but I don't get tons of flavor.
Yeah, no, I don't know, Dilip. I guess I have luck. The feta that I made, when I usually try to let it marinate overnight, but I just keep it in the glass jar that I have it in. I know we're often marinating. My son loves tofu, just marinated in some tamari and liquid smoke, a little bit of garlic. And sometimes just for convenience, I will put it in a baggie and get the air out. But mostly I'll just put it in a glass container. And, I think time might be the biggest thing. The longer you let it marinate,
And that's clearly what it is, because I kind of figure out as I'm cooking what I'm going to make, and my marinades generally last, don't tell anybody, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Oh no, yeah, you definitely need to plan ahead.
Yeah.
Overnight, like for my
That's
son,
it.
I would
Yeah.
make it, the feta I made will taste even better tomorrow. So if you can hold off,
Right.
you got
That's it.
time.
Well, and there's one other thing I can think of. If you're trying to do it really quickly, Dilip, take a skewer and just poke a bunch of holes
It's a good
in your
idea.
tofu, and then it will soak up into those holes. So at least you'll get more in the middle. If you have the time, freeze your tofu and then thaw
Oh
it
yeah,
and
of
squeeze all
course.
the liquid out, and then it's
Course.
really going to absorb all that liquid. So,
Right. Yep. Um, and this is cool, Peggy. I didn't know this. And if you don't know who Dr. Greger is, nutritionfacts.org is fabulous. And apparently, the sodium in miso doesn't affect the body like sodium and salt. I'm so glad to learn that. I didn't know that. And
I hadn't
that,
heard that. I need to look at
yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah.
excellent. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'd like to do the drawing momentarily. Lee, does pressing the tofu help to absorb the marinade? I would think so because you're
Yes,
pressing, right?
Absolutely. You're getting all that
absolutely.
water out.
Right.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
flip side, and Cody and I have talked about this, if that's the case, why is sucking the air out? Because why is that's actually pulling things out? So why is pulling the air out helping to push the flavor molecules into the tofu?
Well, is that after you've drained it and pressed
Yeah.
it? Because then that makes sense. I mean, when you're
Mhm.
pulling the air out, it's sucking, the tofu is sucking in that moisture of the
Mhm.
marinade,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've
So
created a
that makes
vacuum.
sense.
They use it in a vacuum,
Exactly.
so it's vacuuming it into it basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That,
All right. I think everybody who was asking a question.
yeah.
So Hyacinth asked, how long can the cheese last? So
Okay, that's a new person. Let
yeah,
me see.
Hyacinth, she had a couple questions. So Hyacinth asked, how long can cheese last? It depends on the particular recipe. So if
Mhm.
you, but if it's in the refrigerator and it's plant-based, correct me, either of you or Cody, if you feel differently, but at least a week,
I
Mhm.
would think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
even longer, I would think. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And here was the question: if you are using oil, the person, I guess it was Tammy, who's coconut. Yeah, you can, instead of coconut, use olive. It's going to have a different flavor and different thickness, but yeah. So generally, we don't use oil, and when we do, it's in small quantities. So that was a question. Janet, I think Janet's on the list. I think we've taken her
Janet's on
question.
the list. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the first drawing then. So we have Mayoko Shinner's book, Artisanal Vegan Cheese, I think, and I think all of us probably have it. I met her a number of times. I met her once in San Francisco. We were both presenting at the World Vegetarian Congress, and she was making her cheeses. They were really good. This must have been, I don't know, about 15, 18 years ago, something like that. Before you were born, Carolyn. No, I'm kidding. That's Susanna. No. So what I'm going to do is, Susanna, how many numbers are there on your list?
So I have 6.
Can you read them off, please?
Peggy, Lee, Janet, 2 names. Janet, Sandy, Shirley Ann, and Hyacinth.
Okay,
Yes.
so those are the 6. If anybody asked a question and we didn't put your name down, let us know. But it sounds like those are our 6. And so what I will do is I'm going to do a drawing. So I'm going to use random.org, and I'm going to say, give me a random number from 1 to 6. And the first winner of that book is actually number 6. So who is number
Okay.
6?
Hyacinth.
Okay, Hyacinth, congratulations. So what you need to do is and you've won before, so you need to send, let me go ahead and type it here. Let's see. Let's do it here. If you win, send an email to Karen at somanycooks.com and copy me just to make sure. Okay, and then we'll need your mailing address, and for privacy reasons, obviously we don't want you to share it here. We're all a good audience, but still, it's not a good idea to, too much information. Great, Hyacinth. So Hyacinth, we expect an email from you, although I think we have your address. So please send us your address and say, I won the book, and we'll get you the book. And then you know what I'm going to do, because there were so many good questions. Let's give 2 copies of the book away. Let's give a second winner of the book. So let's try again. And Hyacinth, if you win again, you don't win again. You can only at most once.
It is a great
So
book, but probably don't
yeah,
need two.
the next winner is number 1. So number 1, Peggy.
Peggy, yeah.
Congratulations. So Peggy and Hyacinth
Congratulations.
both get the book. So
Cool.
Peggy, please confirm. That's good, Hyacinth, but please send us an email. So Peggy, please send us an email, and please message here that you are still here, because if you're not here, we'll redraw, but I hope you're still here. So Peggy Hughes, let us know. And you asked some great questions, and you taught me something about miso. So I'm hoping you're still here. We'd love to get you the cheese book. Excellent. So Peggy, please email Karen at SoManyCooks.com and Dilip at SoManyCooks.com and let us know you won as well the second copy. And I'll let Karen know, because you'll say second copy, and I'll say yes. So I won the second copy. So somebody's asking to type the name of the book, please. I'll let I won't ask Carolyn. It's I'll do it. It's
Artisanal cheese. Artisanal cheese. Yeah.
by Mayoko Schinner. That's the book. Okay, and you can see it on our I think we've published our giveaways. Okay. Oh, good. Thank you. Oh, yeah, that's me. All right. Artisanal Cheese by Mayoko Schinner. That's the book. Thanks for asking, M. Evans. Okay. The last winner is going to be of the Veg News subscription. Veg News is a lovely magazine. I know Colleen Holland. I've been on a panel discussion with her years and years ago when there were a lot more vegetarian societies. I still have my vegetarian society, and we used to put out a quarterly newsletter, and I was on a panel with all these new magazines coming up. This is really before the internet was big. Do we still need Vegetarian Society newsletters? And I was arguing, yes. And she was arguing, not so much. Colleen Holland's really nice, and her magazine's slick and really great. It doesn't focus on the health aspects of plant-based eating, and that's okay. It focuses on plant-based living. And so for those of us who are plant-based for health, just be aware that some of the recommendations you want to temper. They love to show all these cool new products, and some of them could be high in fat, but it's a great magazine. Okay, so let's do the last drawing. The winner of the magazine is number 1, which we don't duplicate. Let's draw again. It's number 5. So
Okay,
who's
and
number
that's
5?
Shirley Ann.
So Shirley, please let us know that you're here, and that you will email us, Shirley, that you won the magazine subscription. We'll be very happy to get you the magazine subscription. So Shirley, hopefully you're here. We'll chat for another minute, and if we don't see you pop up, then we'll draw again. But we hope that you're here. You had so many good questions. You talked about our friend Kathy. I wonder if you've taken classes with her, or maybe you're a fellow. Shirley Ann, your name's familiar. Are you a fellow Food for Life instructor? You might be. Do you guys know? Carolyn or Suzanne or Cody? Yeah? Okay. Shirley Ann, are you good? I'm glad you're there. Your name's really familiar. You might be a Food for Life instructor. Maybe you've just been a regular in our show. So either way, thank you. And thanks for educating me about Michael Greger. Oh, that was Peggy who did that. But thank you for your great questions, Shirley Ann. All right, well, let's start to wrap up. I wanted to just take a moment and tell you about upcoming shows, and then see if Cody, who's here, but just her camera's not working, or Carolyn or Suzanne want to say anything. Thank you, Sandy. That's so kind. Oh, here it is. Thank you so much. And we're all winners with your wonderful questions you guys ask. Okay. Okay, so Shirley's not a fellow Food for Life instructor. Your name was really familiar. I think it's from past shows. Let me just tell you about upcoming shows. So Mark Sirkvenik, who's been with us for a long time, he's kind of stepping down from a lot of the cooking, so you may not see much more of him. Keeping my fingers crossed. He's such a great stage presence. I hope he'll still occasionally join us. Mark's been maintaining our website, and maybe I'll tell you more in a future show, but we have a nice young person who's taking over the website maintenance. So I don't have any new plans. I don't think we have any new plans for the website. We do have search there. You can search on recipes there if you'd like. But Mark has been suggesting for some time we should honor I mean, we're all African. We all come from Africa, right? So I guess, and those of us who are American, I guess we're all African American. So, but the word Black is a specific connotation. I don't think that those of us currently here are Black, but he suggested we should do something for Black History Month, which is February. And so we are going to do a show called So Much Soul Food. And we'll be trying to highlight a lot of foods that typically are associated with African American Black culture. I have to say this: I'm not Black or African American, um, but a lot of people will argue that if you look at not just the Black culture, but a lot of minority cultures, the food and health outcomes aren't great. And there's an argument to be made that the original foods in all these cultures were awesome, were very healthy. What people will argue, and I should let somebody else make the argument, like maybe Tammy, but what they'll argue is the original food, and Columbus Baptiste calls it slave food, that the slave food was actually pretty much whole food plant-based, right? And was healthy. And when they were
Oh,
enslaved,
that's
sorry,
that's not what he's referring to by slave food. So
okay,
when
why
he
don't you
said
talk about that?
so, yeah. So what Columbus is referring to with slave food is the food that slaves were given by their masters
Okay,
at the
that's it.
time, and that's very unhealthy, and it's where
Yes,
we get the current connotation of soul food from. So
that's
like
where I was going
pork
to.
belly and chitlins and that kind of thing, the entrails that were left was what people were given. And they were very creative, and they were found a way to make them into something edible, and they survived. But Columbus's argument is that we need to stop eating slave food and
Thanks
go
for the
back to
important correction.
what the original food was, which was predominantly plant-based when they were still on the continent of Africa. So
And so they
yeah,
would
there's a
argue that the
difference.
food that was given, and I definitely stand corrected, that's what's called the slave food, and that's the foods that others didn't want to eat. And so they would argue that a lot of the bad health outcomes and the bad dietary choices
Right,
were foisted on them generation
right,
after generation after generation. And now
right.
people who say, this is my traditional Black food, Columbus and others will say that really isn't your traditional
It's
food. The
just
traditional
slave
food is
food.
far healthier.
Right,
It's slave food. So
right.
we're going to do a show in February called So Much Soul Food, and I'm looking forward to that. And then right now, with consternation from Miss Carolyn, we're doing a show,
Sorry.
and I'll ship you some, Carolyn, if you need me to. So much eggplant. Carolyn, where she lives, doesn't get eggplant year round. I don't know, Susanna, we do. Eggplant is a constant. You can get
Well,
eggplant.
I did find some yesterday at an Indian grocery store. I found some adorable little baby eggplant, and so
You'll
I
always find that in
probably
an Indian
could.
store.
I may just go to the Indian grocery store and get those because they were precious, and I want to find something to make with them.
You know
So,
my mom would always do with those little eggplants is she would cut them in half and she would coat them with various Indian spices and she would roast them and they were really good.
I'll think of
Yeah.
something. I'll come up with
Yeah.
something.
Okay. So right now, and we may change it, but our shows are So Much Soul Food and So Much Eggplant for March, and then we haven't figured out April or May or June,
Okay.
but we're
My
happy to get
I always
suggestions.
go ahead. Sorry.
We're happy to get suggestions, so feel free to make suggestions. Go on, Carolyn.
I was just going to say I love eggplant, but it's not really in season yet in March. That's my only issue with it is you can't really find it at the farmers market yet. So, and I love shopping at farmers markets. I always want to get everything from a farmers market. So I just can't. But I did find it at an Indian grocery store just yesterday, so I can,
Yeah.
get it that way.
Yeah, a lot of eggplant is easy to find year round in Indiana too, right, Susanna?
Yes,
Yeah, it's very easy to find.
absolutely.
Maybe not at farmers markets. We start seeing it in our farmers markets, I think, in April,
Wow.
April or May, right? Something like that. So,
Wow.
Susanna, did you want to wrap up with any comments or any reflections on cheese or anything?
I don't think so. I think it was a great show. I know having a family member with a cashew and nut allergy, I um, try most of the cheeses I make exclude cashews. I know cashews make an amazing cheese, but I have used sunflower seeds. Universal Meals, PCRM, has a lot of cheese recipes and other recipes that use sunflower seeds and other things. So that might be a place for people to go look at. Just pcrm.org, Universal Meals. But cheese is great. It's fun making all the different kinds of recipes.
Cody, I know that you've been having technical problems, but would you like to share any wrap-up comments about today's cheese show?
Yeah. So yeah, sorry you guys can't see me. I'll hopefully get that figured out before our next show. But yeah, I think these are some really great recipes. We got a wide range of them here for you guys to try. And, you know, if you don't see a recipe here that you want to try that's a vegan cheese, you know, you can always like search on Pinterest and look through the recipes, make sure you have those ingredients. And if you don't have an ingredient, you know, you can always just research it, make sure it's something you actually want to add to your recipe. We're always learning new recipes. And so if you come across a great one and want to share it with us, you can totally do that. You can post it on our Facebook page. We'd love to see what you come up with and what you think of it. And yeah, I'm always looking for a good recipe. And I really enjoyed doing the cruise with Carolyn and learning her cheese recipes. That was a lot of fun and very tasty. And is cute because Nora was watching it, the recording here today, and she's like, Mom, let's make that. So we're going to make the one that you put in the fridge, Carolyn, firm it up and slice it.
Oh, good.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Nora's Cody's youngest girl, and she's one of the kids in the kitchen. She's a second grader.
Let me know how it goes, Cody. If you have any questions, just call me.
Okay, I sure will.
Talk you through it. But and I wanted to point out too that I think Susanna, with both of the recipes that we showed on the ship, you could substitute sunflower seeds for the cashews in either one of them. It would be fine.
Yeah.
And finally, Carolyn, would you like to wrap up with any final comments? And we're glad you could join. Sorry about your appointment.
Sorry, it was kind of a last minute. I really needed to get in there. But so yeah, I had a great time cooking with Cody on a cruise ship. That was a lot of fun. I think I said that on the video, Carolyn and Cody cooking on a cruise ship. it was a lot of fun.
What's the song we used to sing as little boys and girls sitting in a tree? Not you guys.
We weren't kissing on a cruise ship. We were just cooking. We were cooking on a cruise ship. And
cooking
we had
on a KOOKING. That's it.
Right. There you go.
I just misspelled it.
And everything started with a C. Cody and Carolyn cooking on a cruise ship.
I should ask my daughter if people still sing that song, because when I was growing up, we would tease each other, right? And we would
I hope not.
boys and girls had cooties, and they're not supposed to touch each other, and we would say, "Oh, that person is."
Yeah.
You guys sang that when you were growing up, didn't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I think so. I didn't get a chance to actually watch the video earlier because I was in with the eye doctor, but so I'm hoping that it showed the audience eating it, their reception of it. They loved it. Okay, we had a lot of people sitting there. They were tasting it, and they really liked it. So it was a lot of fun. We had a good time, and especially because I've always noticed, since I've been teaching Food for Life classes for almost 10 years now, that people tell me all the time I could give up just about everything except cheese. That's the one thing I have a hard time with. So I do think it's a really good idea that we did a whole show on that, because that does seem to be, for some reason, that and bacon seem to be the things people have. Maybe we should do a whole show on vegan bacon, but because those are the things people have the hardest time with. But
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the cheese, they say.
It's the cheese. Yeah, it's the cheese. I can't give up my vegan cheese. So
you'll get the flavor, but you won't get the addictive properties that you get from queso morphis, which is in cheese.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Nowadays, my daughter doesn't eat it very often. But growing up, she loved grilled cheese, and we were happy to make, with various. I never made my own cheese from scratch. Maybe I should now, but I would buy, the commercial varieties now are really good. Mayoko's makes really tasty, and again, they're high in fat. So if you're using them, use small quantities. But Mayoko's mozzarella is delicious, and it goes great with lasagna, for example. So. But what I often do is I make my own. I don't make cheese, but I make cheese sauce pretty commonly, so I can use that. But that's the cool thing. That's the cool thing about our recipes is we get a nice flavor, but we don't get that addiction.
Or the cholesterol and saturated fat. So there's that.
Zero cholesterol, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for watching. We loved all the questions. We loved the interaction, and we look forward to so much soul food in. I think it's early in February, so it's not far away. It's just I better start thinking what I'm going to make.
I think can I just make something African? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm going to do my African groundnut stew. I'll do that.
That would be good. That's a great idea. That sounds very good.
Yep. I already know because I love it. And I have figured out a way to make it lower fat. So
Excellent.
yeah, we'll do
Excellent.
that.
Cool. That's what my daughter and I had one year. We love going to Colonial Williamsburg, and in their taverns they don't have a lot of vegan options, but they did have like a peanut nut stew, which was really good. All right. Oh, there's one more comment coming through. Oh, thank you, Sarai. I'm so glad that you got to watch the show. So, Sarai, to introduce Sarai. So, thanks to Sarai, I have the honor of making my first film ever called Code Blue, and it's all about Sarai's lovely journey. So, check out codebluedoc.com. And I'm so happy, Sarai, that you got to join us as well. So, with that, let me go ahead and wish everybody a wonderful rest of your January and a great 2025 and beyond. So thanks for watching.
Everyone,
Bye.
So many cooks in the kitchen, so many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.